Welcome back to another episode of the Montgomery Companies podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery, and today we get to interview my dear friend, Austin Hatch. Austin's story has been told by ESPN, NBC Nightly News, People Magazine, and many others. As a former Michigan basketball player, Austin kept a full-ride scholarship after he survived not one, but two fatal plane crashes that took the lives of every member in Austin's immediate family. Austin has gone on to graduate from the University of Michigan, married his wife Abby, and today is a keynote speaker that rocks the world, sharing his unique journey and how he's used his story for the benefit of others. Austin is a friend, a man of faith, and someone that you will enjoy listening to on today's episode. With that, we welcome Austin Hatch. So Austin Hatch, welcome to the Montgomery Companies podcast. You have perhaps the most unique life story of anyone that I've ever known. Could you just shed some light on your journey? Tell us who you are, where you've been, and where you're at today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's great to be with you guys. And yeah, I feel blessed to have a story that's pretty impactful. And you know, it's as tragic as it is. I believe my story is, two words that would define it are, tragedy and triumph at the same time, right? And I think that it's essentially my message it's not about our circumstances, it's about how we respond to them. So tragically, when I was 8 years old, my family and I were involved in a plane crash, tragically, that claimed the lives of my mom, my sister, and my younger brother, which was, obviously extremely difficult to get through. And but my dad and I, leaned on each other and just pressed on, found a way to keep living despite that loss. And he was eventually remarried. My dad was, and we had a great blended family, restored a sense of normalcy in my life. And I was working really hard on my basketball skills, and eventually I got to be pretty good. And Coach Beeline from Michigan offered me a scholarship on June 15th, 2011, which I accepted right then and there. It was always my dream to go to Michigan because my mom went there, and both my grandpas went to Michigan, so it's been in my family for years, and it was a dream come true. But then 9 days later, tragically, we were involved in another plane crash that claimed the lives of my dad and my second mom. My dad's second wife after, he was remarried, and they were tragically killed in the plane crash. And I probably should have died if you look at the list of injuries that I had. But, after being in a coma for 2.5 months, I came out of it and had a long road to recovery ahead of me, on how to walk and talk and live life again, and basically how to do everything. And thanks to, the power of God and amazing medical team, therapists, nurses, doctors, and the prayers and well wishes of many people across the country that, helped me get better. We overcame it. So,
Austin, you had told me at one point about the odds of you making it, and you're literally one of a few people on planet Earth that's ever survived 2 plane crashes. What's that stat? What's the number that the doctors told you about your odds of survival of 2 plane crashes?
Yeah, well, it wasn't the doctors that told me. I read an article written by a guy named Arnold Bennett was his name, I believe, at MIT. He was a statistician that studies airplane travel and actually studied airplane crashes, why they happen, how they happen, how to prevent them and things like that. And he calculated that the odds of surviving a plane crash with at least one fatality is 1 in 3.4 million. So that's pretty slim. And so I realized, I survived 2 of those tragically, but fortunately. And the odds, 1 in 3.4 million is the odds of surviving 1, and 1 in 3.4 million is the odds of surviving 2. So it's 1 in 3.4 million for both, but the odds of surviving both is 1 in 3.4 million times 1 in 3.4 million, which is 1 in 11 quadrillion, 560 trillion. So pretty slim. Extremely slim. I shouldn't be alive, but I'm blessed, and I'm just trying to do everything in my power to make the most of this third chance at life that I've been given. So
I think it's important for our listeners to understand, Austin, it's not like you were, just involved in 2 plane crashes, but you were given this gift, this God-given gift to play the game of basketball, and you worked hard at that gift. And, for anybody who's ever played sports, you can put yourself in that position where your dream comes true. You're offered a Division I scholarship at your dream school. John Beilein, a coach who's, coached in the national championship game at the collegiate level. He's coached in the NBA. I mean, he was the guy that offers you the scholarship. What a special moment. Literally 9 days after he offers you the scholarship and you get to celebrate with your dad, that dream starts to look very different. And you don't know if you'll ever play basketball again. In fact, the doctor said you probably wouldn't. To me, the coolest part of your story is how you responded to your trauma and your injuries. Talk to us about how you approached playing basketball at the University of Michigan and John Beilein's invitation to continue to be a part of the team. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest things in my life that I've learned from sports, from working to be the best that I could be, the best basketball player that I could be, is just that commitment, that drive, that dedication, the understanding that it's gonna be a long road. You're never as good as you think you are, and you can always get better. And that's exactly how I approached the road to recovery. I knew that I had this goal of getting to Michigan originally, and I had achieved the first part of that goal. I had an opportunity to go there, but I wanted to go there and thrive. I didn't want to just go there and be there. I wanted to go there and thrive at Michigan, right? Before the action. Then the second action happened, 9 days after I committed, and I suffered a terrible traumatic brain injury, a long list of other broken bones and things like that, and I just kind of thought to myself, so I was trying to be the best basketball player that I could be before the accident. And I was working every day to get a little bit better. And now I have the same mentality, but it's just a different goal. I'm going to make that. I decided early on that I'm going to do everything in my power to make the best recovery that's ever been made by a level 7 traumatic brain injury. I mean, why not, right? Go big or go home, my dad always said. And if I'm going to go after something, if I'm going to get started on this recovery process, if I'm going to try to if I'm going to set the goal of getting to Michigan, and I was in a coma, I had to learn how to walk. I have a long way to go, but I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm going to control all the things that I control, because my injuries were what they were. And I can't really control how fast I recover from, those medical injuries. They are what they are, but I'm going to do all the things that I control. Like you're not going to make every shot in every game, but there's no reason you can't play as hard as you can for 40 minutes or however long the game is, right? So, yeah, I just focus on the things that I control. And I think that's, in life in general, especially with all the adversity going on right now, my thoughts and prayers out to everyone we're all impacted in some way, shape, or form. But, yeah, I just tried to, not that my journey is the same as what we're going through now in any way, but it's similar in that, I can control my circumstances, and I don't think people today, no one really has control over the circumstances, but I do believe that we all have control over how we respond, right? So I think that, yeah, just, that mindset that I learned, that I kind of attained from working as hard as I could to be the best I could be. There's always someone out there working harder than me. There's always someone out there who's better, and I realized that, and I realized early on that there's someone out there we're both working to be great basketball players or great at whatever. And because I'm not working hard right now, the person out there's someone out there who is. And for that reason, that guy is going to win every time. Right. So it's like, if I can give myself a competitive advantage in anything, just by putting the work in, and also the mindset, the being positive and looking at the glass as half full, that's a whole other conversation altogether. But just having the mindset that it's going to be a grind. It should be hard work. It's not going to be easy. And I think just understanding that, for me, has been really important in life and the road to recovery. Meeting my wife and getting her to fall in love with me was hard work, right? I felt quick, but for her, it took a while. And like, hey, I'm going to control what I control. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to do whatever I can to make her. And if she doesn't fall today, that's fine. Maybe she will tomorrow. So.
Well, your story is such an inspiration. And when I think about you, I think about the mantra of how you do one thing is how you do everything, and focusing on details and simple things. One thing we say in our business is simple things done well repeatedly, right? Success is the natural consequence of applying the basics and the fundamentals. And you've been doing that in a real way through significant trial. Talk to us about how your faith has played into your road to recovery, your journey, your perspective, and how you've handled adversity.
Yeah, well, I'll answer your first question, or give a few thoughts on your first part of what you said first. You know, getting the fundamentals, doing the fundamentals well for a long period of time, right? Never get bored with the basics. You know, at Michigan, every single day we would do passing drills, and pivoting drills. These are guys, you know, some of the best athletes in the country playing at Michigan, right? Guys in the NBA, Mo Wagner, Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, DJ Wilson, right? Guys in the NBA now doing great, but you know, at Michigan we would do passing drills and pivoting and like basic stuff like that. And if you can do those little things 1% better than your competition, that could be the difference between winning and losing. Because especially in the Big Ten, there are a lot of games that are decided by one possession. And if you can turn the ball over one less time than the other teams, that gives you one more chance to score, right? But yeah, you know, my faith has been huge, because I realized early on, you know, that I don't know that I do believe that everything happens for a reason, right? But it's hard for me. I mean, it's you know, obviously I can't understand the heavenly reasons or the divine reasons behind why I went through what I did, but I think it's part of it is to use what I've been through to help others, and that's a big part of it. But I think that I always remembered, you know, James 1, 2, and 3 says, "Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance." And you know, I look at this as like, this is a big trial, but like I said before, by handling the trials that I faced prior to this big one, the second big one that is, I don't want to say in a way it prepared me for it, but it like, and you shouldn't live life in fear that maybe that big tragedy is going to come tomorrow, but we should handle the smaller forms of adversity. And I don't want to say smaller, but just the minor inconveniences of life. We should handle those in a way. We should look at those with a growth mind. We should be positive in the midst of those, right? And you know, and I think one of the things about that'll strengthen our foundation and our faith. And if we stay devout, stay committed to our faith, and just trust even when it's difficult to, I think that'll strengthen our foundation. And I'm reminded of a house in Mexico Beach in Florida. Hurricane Michael hit the Panhandle in the fall of 2018. Every house on the beach was destroyed except for one. And the homeowners said they spent extra money, took extra time, resources, what have you, when they were building the house, because they built it to survive the biggest storm that would ever come. They didn't build the house, you know, in fear that maybe the big one is going to come, but they just knew we live in Florida. We have storms, big ones, and we're going to put this time and money in now. And you know, because when we want our house to be able to withstand the storm, it's kind of like life. You know, the storms of life are going to come. It's inevitable, and hopefully it's not a Category 5 hurricane, metaphorically speaking. But I think it's better to be prepared and better to have that rock solid foundation in Christ, in whatever your faith is, whatever you believe. It's better to have that rock solid foundation and have the storm not come than it is to have the storm come and have your house, metaphorically speaking, be destroyed. So, you know, I'm reminded of James 1:12, which says, you know, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. And, you know, it's like, I don't want to say that, you know, good things are on the horizon for every person who goes through anything. But, you know, I stand before you today. You know, it says, James 1:12 says, blessed is the one who perseveres. And I'm more blessed now than I could have ever imagined, especially coming where I came from, you know, 9 years ago. So
I love the way that you speak about your journey. You speak about your past. I'll never forget, Austin, when I asked you the question about stepping on a plane. And I asked you a two-part question. I asked you the question, you know, was it scary to you the next time you jumped on a plane after your accident? And then my second question was, does it scare you to fly today, right? I mean, if I had been through not one, but two horrific accidents where I had lost loved ones, I can imagine the fear that might overcome me if I was faced with, that situation again. And you said, Jordan, my permanent home is not here on earth, but it's in heaven. And if it's my time to go, then it's my time to go. And I think what you shared, Austin, is how your past has cemented your future. I think oftentimes we want God to reason with us in our past, but we don't ask him enough to reason with us in our future. And I think you're one of those people that has been reasoning with God in the future. What are you preparing me for? What have you called me to? Not why did this happen? And it makes you uniquely special. Tell us a little bit about how your journey has shaped your view of relationships. I love the way that you speak about your wife, Abby. I love the way you speak glowingly about your mentor and coach at Michigan, John Beeline, and how you speak about the family members that you do have. I know your dad remarried, and your stepmom's children are like family to you. Talk to us about how your journey has shaped the way that you view relationships.
Yeah, well, I think it's given me a greater appreciation for all the relationships that I have, because unfortunately, tragically, I've realized that, things can be taken away from you in an instant, right? And it's, I believe that, we're all, this is kind of a separate issue altogether, but everyone on the planet, no matter what you do, we're all in the people business first and foremost, right? And those relationships, that's where the value comes from. And obviously, for a business, they gotta, sell their product or service or whatever it may be. But, it starts with people though. I mean, people sell the product, people deliver the service, people. So without people, there is no business. There's no business on the planet without people. So, I think we're all in the people business first and foremost. And yeah, just back to those relationships, I believe that, it's just such a blessing to have the life that I do. And I've lost a lot. I've been through some terrible stuff, but you can't let two bad moments, or I can't let two bad moments in my life, two horrific moments, outshine all the other great moments that I have. And maybe that sounds, like fake optimism or whatever, but it's just, man, when I take a step back and realize, like I said before, I've been through some terrible stuff, right? That no one would ever wish on anyone. But you can't let those two bad events define your life. It's like you play a great basketball game. I metaphorically in my life right now, I think if you could compare the two, maybe this comparison won't make any sense. I've got a 40-point and 18 rebound game. That's the kind of life I have. It's like amazing, right? And so yeah, I miss, and by chance I missed the game winner to win the game. I have 40 points and 18 rebounds, and my team lost. And so, the team losing, that's what matters. And like the fact that my family is gone, that's terrible, and it will always be terrible. But it's like, sometimes I just gotta take my hat off and just say, man, to the opponent, you played a great game. And again, maybe that comparison doesn't make any sense, but I'm just like, I just can't, like right now, the life that I have, given what I've been through, I can't change that. I don't know what else I would ask for, what else I would wish for right now. I've got an incredible wife, an incredible extended family, an incredible future to look forward to. I'm blessed to be in a position now where I can, share a message of positivity, encouragement, motivation, perspective, what have you. And yeah, if I can change the perspective of one person, my goal is to change the perspective of one person in every audience that I speak to. And say that maybe the audience is 200, 300, 400 people. If one person leaves that presentation thinking a little bit different, about their life, a little bit different about the opportunities they have, then I feel like I've done my job. So I'm so blessed, and I can't, I'll forever be grateful for the opportunities that I've had and the people who are in my life. So.
Well, obviously you lost some of those people that were so dear to you, Austin. Two questions. I'm assuming the first answer to the first question is yes. Do you think often about mom and dad and family that you lost? And how do you think about them when you consider your daily life, honoring them? how do you think about them when they cross your mind? I mean, tell me about how you try to honor them with your actions and how you move forward.
Yeah, well, I know I'll see them again someday. Hopefully it's in 75 years. Hopefully my wife and I live till we're 100 and have an incredible life. But I can't wait to see them again someday. And I hope that whenever the good Lord calls me home, I can't wait to see them again, obviously. But I hope that they're just proud of how we responded to this. I say we because it's not only me. It's I was the only one who's directly impacted. I was the only one who was in the plane crashes. I'm the one that lost my family. But everyone everyone who's connected to me in any way, whether it's my family, my friends, my now wife and her family, we're all impacted by the loss. I do my best to honor them every single day, because even though they're not here, they're still having a profound impact on, the man I am and how I live my life, how I treat my wife, someday how I'll love and honor my family and the kind of father I'll be, someday. And I just do my best to, make them proud every single day. And I think that's a whole nother issue, because, I think about, for people going off to college, kids going off to college, I try to always remember that how I approach every situation, whether it was school, sports, my now wife, Abby, how I approach every situation I felt, and especially in the early stages of my road to recovery, when I was learning how to walk and talk and at square one, just learning how to live life again. I knew that or at least I felt that how I responded to the adversity that I faced was a direct reflection of my family. And I think if we remember that our response impacts others and it's a direct reflection on others as well, especially our families. If we remember that, I feel like, that'll be a driving force that'll help us to do what it takes to overcome and to keep working hard, even when we don't feel like it. So.
Well, that's just an awesome and powerful way to live life, that every action, every part of your journey is not just meant and designed to move your life forward, but it's meant and designed to move everyone that you come into contact with. It's meant to move their life forward. And Austin, I've watched you carry this journey. I've watched you carry your story forward in a way that is so inspiring. And I think, one of your favorite pieces of scripture, you've shared this with me before, is Luke 12:48. It says, "To whom much was given, much will be required. And to whom has been entrusted with much, much more will be demanded." And I just want to say this as an encouragement to you, brother. And I say this just makes me emotional to say this to you, but you have been entrusted with this really unique story that only you have. And, it's safe to say that you've maybe been through more trauma than, 99.9% of the world will ever go through or understand. But the way that you've decided to shoulder that, to carry that, and to use that for good is such an inspiration. So may the world be better because of your presence, because of your journey, and because of the way that you choose to live life. What's next for Austin Hatch?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate it, and I do feel blessed that I've been given this great opportunity. Of course, it's at the expense of my family, which is tragic, and I certainly recognize that, of course. And I'm not saying this is a great opportunity that has come from their loss, but I feel like there's two ways to approach things. I can either focus on the loss, or I can focus on the opportunity. And like you said, to whom much has been given, much is expected. And I feel blessed. I feel that I've been entrusted with this platform to use it for good. So yeah, as far as what's next, I'm speaking to organizations across the country, about overcoming adversity and thriving in the midst of adversity, and really about how we need to build it for the big one, right? We don't build our lives for the good days, for the days when things are simple. We don't. We build our lives, or we strengthen our foundation, our relationships, to be able to handle those tough days. And like we're all going through right now. And, so I feel blessed to be in a position where I can, hopefully, maybe it's not sharing something that it's usually something that people know, they're aware of it, but hopefully it's just a reminder, that that big one may come, and I hope it does. I hope it doesn't. But, and even if the big one doesn't come, I feel like that decision to live life with work for something bigger than ourselves, whether that's our family, our faith, or the organization. I think we need to work for something bigger than ourselves first and foremost. And when we have that greater purpose, I think that'll drive the 4 key components of my message that I talk about, which are the growth mindset, which views adversity as opportunity. It drives the decision to be resilient, to focus on our response to what happens to us rather than dwelling on the less than ideal circumstances that we can't control. The third component is that decision to live with integrity and always follow through on our commitments and do what we said we would do, especially when our circumstances change. And lastly, the thing I talk about is that team first mentality. Like we talked about, at Michigan, all I could do was unload bags and shag balls in practice. If that's what I could do, it's what I could do to help the team. And I think something we got to remember is that if we're on the team, we have a role, and that role is important. Otherwise, it's not worth the coach's time to have us on the team. So for anyone out there who's struggling to figure whether their role is important or not, if it wasn't important, you wouldn't be on the team. So, yeah, I'd be honored to share that message with any and all people, organizations who have any interest. So.
Well, Austin, you have shared the stage with some of the top keynote speakers in the world, and you've worked with professional sports teams and college sports teams. And I know you're working with several Fortune 500 companies to help them improve their mindset, their attitude of abundance, and ultimately move their company or their organization forward. So you're a gift, you're a talent, you're a treasure. And it's just such an honor to have you on the Montgomery Companies podcast. And I want to say this. I just want to say thanks, not just from me, but from John Choate, our producer, and to all of our listeners who are impacted by your message today. Thanks for being who you are. Thanks for choosing to use your story for good. And thanks for deciding to spend a little bit of time with us today. Where can people find you today?
LinkedIn is a great way to get connected. Also, the website will be up and running here in a month or two. So once that is available, I'll definitely get the word out there that people can get in touch that way and book me to have me speak, or would love to just have a conversation to see if I can add value, or just to encourage anyone in any way.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for your friendship, and look forward to staying connected for a very long time to come.
No, thanks. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor to be with you, and I'll look forward to being in touch. Keep doing great things, and let's crush the week.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Montgomery Companies podcast. Thank you to Austin Hatch for your time and generosity in sharing your journey today. And also thank you to John Choate, our producer, for all of the hard work that you do behind the scenes and putting these episodes together. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, or SoundCloud, and we would so much appreciate it if you'd comment, like, share any of these episodes so that we can move our mission forward and impact more people in a greater way. Thanks again for listening. Be well.